All right, outstanding. Happy Tuesday afternoon, everybody. What is the date today? The
September 19th?
9/19. So Scott Pierce here, Premium Cigar Association. I am flanked on my left here by none other than board member and co-chair of our advocacy committee, Kathleen Keller. We are up here in Queensbury, New York, at Queensbury Cigar and Pipe, Kathleen's very own shop. Josh Abersky and the other stuffed animal, now other guy on the screen with us is, as everybody knows, Mr. Glenn Liu. What is that, Glenn?
This is Nick.
Nick?
Oh, Colin, you've heard the story of Nick. This has got serious regulatory story behind it. This is Nick that I bought.
Nick is very involved in advocacy.
Is Nick the doll where you talked today where the bad policymaker touched you?
Nick is named after the squirrel monkeys that were killed by the FDA, and I'm not making that up. The squirrel monkeys that were killed by the FDA doing nicotine research.
Oh, wow.
So to commemorate their memory, I bought a stuffed squirrel monkey and named it Nick in memory of the.
I love this. This is the most interesting advocacy talk I think PCA's ever had.
It's a true story. PETA got him to quit doing nicotine research on squirrel monkeys after 8 of them were killed.
Wow.
So
not through premium cigars.
Not really entirely sure where to go from that, other than to say, welcome everybody and happy Tuesday afternoon. I hope everybody had a fantastic Constitution Day on Sunday, and I hope everybody celebrated it. 1789, September 17th, when the Constitution was finally ratified, we became a country, and that's that very same Constitution that gives us all of the rights that we enjoy to enjoy premium cigars and pipes in this great country of ours. Now, on that note, we all have been celebrating the past month of our fantastic vacated victory over the Food and Drug Administration for the deeming rule. So I hope wherever you are at, you are enjoying your favorite cigar, your favorite libation, and kicking back one and smoking and enjoying whatever it is that you enjoy. On that note, I'm going to kick it over to Josh here real quick, who's going to talk about some high-level, Josh and Kathleen, some high-level, some federal advocacy issues that we have going on. And then, Glenn, I know that you have a litany of issues going on in the states that we need to keep everybody apprised of so we can make sure that we continue to keep our foot to the pedal and do not let up in any way, shape, or form.
Yes.
Josh, Kathleen, the floor is yours.
So we've been churning out a lot of activities, even since the decision and remedy have been rendered. We have a lot more on the regulatory side. Just because this is a monumental victory for premium cigars. As we know that representing our membership, our retail membership, there are other products that were not encompassed within that rule. So we have been weighing in on a few items this week. We addressed civil money penalties. Basically, the FDA had said that they were going to apply a lot of the age access penalties for retailers to products that were not granted pre-market review authorization. So things like pipe tobacco or cigars that don't meet the made decision definition could receive that. Our argument is you got to go through the rulemaking process. You can't just go and release guidance that this is something that should be promulgated really in a number one, you got to do tobacco 21. That was something that Congress authorized. They still have not
done it.
Gone through the regulatory process for that. So we took them to task there. We have some big issues popping up in October. The manufacturing proposed rule comment is due. PCA will be filing a comment on those lines, opposing those. We're expecting the FDA has delayed. That was something that originally was supposed to close in September, but October 6th is the new deadline. The FDA also delayed the release of the flavored cigar prohibition. That's something that we're obviously going to weigh in on the future. So a lot of things federally, government on the congressional side could be going towards a shutdown.
Right.
We're still working the credit card competition act.
Yeah. Well, the FDA's been visiting some cigar shops.
Mm-hmm.
I know they have been in New York.
They're really ratcheting up enforcement.
Yep.
That civil money penalties is the new guidance on that. So you're expected to see larger fines, maybe not necessarily a warning.
Right.
So that is what we addressed in our comments as well. And that's available on our website, what we filed. Short 2 pages, to address this update that came out about 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So, but
And they visited you, right?
They did not visit
No,
me.
you
They
said you-
visited a retailer south of me.
That's right. That's right. So-
Saying they were looking for vape, but they were looking at pipe tobacco.
Interesting.
Yeah.
and we discussed, because a lot of the regulatory front has been about premium cigars, and we have communicated clearly all of the developments there. Now we're going back around. We have a new legal research intern that is putting together material specifically about the regulations of pipe tobacco to
Mhm.
provide a little bit more clarity on that front.
Whose name is Patrick, right?
Yep.
We don't do anything here without duplicating names. Lots of Joshes on in between, Josh and Scott and Todd's, and now a couple of Patricks. So we like to duplicate names here in PCA.
But surprisingly, I think you don't have any rest when it comes to all the regulations or what FDA is doing. Congress, a little bit of a lull as they figure out how to fund the government and what
Right.
that package looks like. The one thing that we're pushing in this overall package is the Credit Card Competition Act. For retailers, either the second or third largest cost is credit card fees.
Yes.
So this would be something that makes it more competitive to hopefully lower that cost burden to retailers.
But
But
ironically enough, we have a strange bedfellow in that regard with none other than Senator Dick Durbin. So stay around long enough, and enemies end up becoming friends at some point.
yeah, but outside of the federal stuff, I know Glenn and Kathleen, everybody at state level has been actively preparing for next year, but also
Well,
this
next year is this
yeah,
year.
Right
This
now,
year.
yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's September. Our legislative process is starting in New York. I'm sure it's starting in other states. And now is the time you want to approach your legislators to fight bills that are, against premium cigars and pipe tobacco, or that you're trying to push that R4, like in New York, our tax cap.
Right.
So we're starting to work on that now. It's September. If your budget comes in the spring, you want to plant those seeds now and get to your legislators to get on their agenda.
Absolutely. Glenn, you want to give us kind of an overview of some of the big ticket items in the states?
Sure, it's great to be with you guys and with the Queen of Queensberry.
What'd you call me?
Miss Kelly.
The Queen of Queensberry. That's my new title for her. Anyway, yes. And, we just I feel like we just started to close out what happened in 23 with really the success of 8 governors acting on behalf of the industry, with tax caps in Nevada, Montana, Idaho, cigar bar legislation in North Dakota, Connecticut, and West Virginia, no local authority over tobacco legislation in South Carolina, 50 bills, 31 states, and all of a sudden, as was just said, now here it is September, and we're talking about 2024. Well, there were two bills that were filed this year that have suddenly resurfaced with hearings. And this week, PCA launched a petition against House Bill 1657, and everybody knows how I feel about show and tell. There's what a bad piece of legislation looks like. It would close every smoking exemption in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, every single one of them, every cigar bar, every cigar shop, casino realm, which is really the target. You name it, it bans it. It closes all the exemptions in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. It's a bad piece of legislation, and there's a hearing on it tomorrow morning at 9:30 that PCA will be monitoring. We'll see where the votes go, if there are already votes taken or if it's just a patron hearing. We have launched a petition that's on cigaraction.org. We hope all of our friends that are consumers and retailers in Pennsylvania will go to cigaraction.org and send a message to the legislature to kill this legislation fast and furiously. And it will keep everybody apprised of where that bill goes. And it sets just a nasty precedent. And it just, came out in February and then went nowhere, dormant. And all of a sudden now there's a hearing. The second one that came up spontaneously after having been filed and just sat upon by the legislature is in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. There's that one. And this would double double the OTP in Massachusetts from 40% to 80%. And we scrambled, got a lot of our retail partners in Massachusetts to send a word out. I've got a slew of personal messages that were sent to legislators in the Massachusetts legislature to kill this bill. Don't let it see the light of day. It did have a hearing. Excuse me. We'll see where it goes. We'll keep everybody informed, but it just shows how you got to stay on top of this process, because these bills were filed back in the wintertime, and all of a sudden, poof, they resurface later in the year.
And it was, last week we had 9 states that we worked on, and this week, we're up to 6 already on Tuesday.
7, and then tonight in Mandan, North Dakota, there's a hearing on creating and allowing for cigar lounge ordinance to be created in Mandan. It'll be the first jurisdiction in North Dakota to take advantage of the law that the governor signed allowing for smoking in cigar lounges in the great state of North Dakota. I just got a message moments ago from Josette Dupree, who owns and manages Big Sticks Cigars in North Dakota, that she's going to try to pack the room tonight to get that cigar lounge ordinance adopted so she can open a cigar lounge in the city of Mandan, North Dakota. Planning for tax cap legislation in Kentucky and Georgia, Nebraska, New Jersey, and yes, the great state of New York.
Maybe
and
even Utah.
And Utah. You're personally in charge of Utah, Scott.
I am. It's my own personal mission.
I'm going to name you the regional provincial governor of Utah. But and we're planning on flavor ban legislation being reintroduced in Maine, Montana, Oregon, possibly Texas. Let's get that cigar bar bill across the finish line in the great state of New York. How about it? Let's fight off local authority legislation in Kentucky and Oregon again. So as you see, the 2024 state legislative agenda is starting to evolve. It's starting to be created. Legislation's starting to get hearings already. I think more or less we can bank on a split decision of good versus bad legislation coming up in 2024. But as Kathleen said, the preparation starts right now. Pre-filing will begin in many, many states over the course of the next 30 to 45 days. So hopefully it'll give the listeners with us today an idea of the 7 states that are already in play, what we can anticipate coming down the pike in January, because let's face it, the state capitals are the incubators for tobacco legislation, good, bad, or indifferent. And I think we're going to have our share of bills to fight. And I think we're going to have some good bills to support as well.
And it's good to note that we will be conducting regional virtual advocacy trainings, regional advocacy trainings for our retail and manufacturer members over the next few weeks. Glenn and I will be sending out those invites to folks to participate, to kind of get a little bit more localized, feel for what's going on in different regions, and kind of share some state best practices of what worked, what hasn't worked, and where we need to put resources.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're a retailer watching this video right now, you need to be involved in that. You need to, I say this all the time, know your local legislators. That's your homework. If you don't know your legislators, do your homework. Go to cigaraction.org. Great website. You can look up your legislators too there, right? Know your legislators. And if you have a state association, get involved. You can go to your state's website, probably, I know you can in New York, and you can look up the word cigars for all the bills that are coming out, and you can see every bill that's coming out for your state. Go on your state's website, on your legislator's website, and look up those bills so you know what's coming at you.
And as Josh also noted, another important component to all of this, for any cigar reps that are out there who work in these territories, that's a very important component as well. That's why, again, with manufacturers being part of this, it's very much a concerted effort between manufacturer, retailer, and the consumer as well. So it's a very important piece for that too. So if you're a cigar rep working in any of these states, please do get involved, and your voice absolutely needs to be heard in this as well.
Yes.
And on the PCA side, we're going to be making a variety of announcements in Q4 about 2024 investments that we're making in advocacy resources, specifically at the state, some programs related to self-regulation at the federal level. So those will be happening in Q4 of this year. We had an advocacy committee meeting this morning, and all systems are a go. We're fighting on a variety of different levels. We're also working internationally, and we're talking with our colleague Ryan about the World Health Organization is meeting in November to talk about anti-indoor smoking globally. We're prepping delegates to oppose those provisions there. If you look at our communications, our blog, our social media, what we've been releasing in the past 2 or 3 months, I said it yesterday on the How About That Cigar when Scott and I were on. We have an aggressive stance. We have a little bit of a newfound swagger since we were successful. We're 3-0 against the Food and Drug Administration in the courts. But we also had monumental success this year. We have built a world-class advocacy organization, even with less than a half dozen people whose full-time job is to do this. And we want to continue that momentum moving forward. 2023 was a phenomenal year for the association, for our membership, for the industry. Now we have to defend that, but also move forward. So it's offense and defense, 1-2 combo.
So the way I want everyone to understand and look at this as far as the membership is concerned is that 2023 was a great foundational year for us. And by that, I mean, look, we had to go through what we had to go through with COVID, the cancellation, some of those aspects, right? And as Josh said, small but mighty staff here working through the limitations, but again, kind of outperforming where we were at. 23 was a great foundational year for us in a number of different regards as it relates to growth through the trade show, growth through the organization, and also foundational in terms of what the government affairs team has been able to put in place, building off of the foundation of the Vision 50. This foundational year now gives us an incredibly strong platform to now grow. And Josh alluded to this earlier. We're going to be explicating to members here coming up in the next month or so what that means for next year, what the increased investment looks like, what our strategic plans are for expanding our influences in the states to be able to leverage the great work that Glenn has done in corralling these state associations and making sure that that is actually operational in a way that's producing more and more legislative wins. It's producing more and more currency for us in each of those state capitals. And so we are going to be investing more in that. Again, giving back to the retailers and the communities from your membership dollars and from what we as an organization can do.
And it's important to have constant feedback, as we build these new programs, constructive, best practices, lessons learned. And I think that's kind of why we're here today. And another initiative that, Scott, you have spearheaded, PCA isn't this distant entity in Washington, D.C. We're here in shops. We're meeting with retailers. We're meeting with consumers.
And you're listening to people's concerns and what they're dealing with. Yeah.
Absolutely. This past weekend, I was with Scott Regina at the Coastal Virginia Cigar Festival. I know you just got back from Rocky Mountain Cigar Festival. Lisa Sigler was at Atlanta Cigar Week, and we're here with
Charleston.
Yeah, and this is a roast. My event's a roast. It's 1980s themed, so I do have 1980s hair. I completely apologize. I just want to let y'all know.
I have 90s, 80s hair here as well.
Yeah, his hair was gone in the 1980s. That's when he lost his hair.
I didn't know I was getting roasted until yesterday.
You're getting roasted.
Dropped it on
You're getting roasted.
The show yesterday.
How you didn't know that.
I'm like, I thought we were going to see others get roasted.
Yeah, no, you're getting roasted.
You're in the audience. You're fair game now.
Glenn, you're getting roasted too. Sorry, buddy.
By proxy.
By proxy. I've been warned about that event, and there's a reason. I've never gone to Queensbury.
I heard you're a fan of crawlers, so
We digress, but no, it's great to be here and to go to these types of events to get the feedback and also talk about some of the new initiatives a little more on a personal basis. So we encourage folks that are watching this, if you're a consumer or any in the industry, support other events. Go see, how
100%.
people's businesses. I know that you go
Well,
to
it's
other
great.
events.
I visit other shops in, Rhode Island and New
yeah.
Hampshire, and I'm very active in my state association and visit other shops, and we do a fundraiser where we all get together as retailers. Look, we're all in the same business here, right? We
Right.
all want to protect our livelihood, and we have to band together to do that. We need to work together.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we appreciate everybody taking the time to watch this kind of update broadcast. Scott and I were on yesterday. How about that cigar? We had kind of a 2-hour segment, went over all of the nuts and bolts details of some of the advocacy topics that we went over. But as always, feel free to reach out to anyone of our team if you have questions, comments, or concerns. If you're in Massachusetts or Pennsylvania, take action, get involved. Those are two
Yes.
hot button issues that we need to get wins in both of those cases.
Yeah.
So
All right.
y'all were on last night for 2 hours.
Yeah.
So Scott Pierce, what was it like to talk for 7 minutes?
Yeah, I got a whole 6.5 in
That
last
is
night.
not
Great.
true. That is not
That was
true.
my beginning for tonight.
Scott,
Feel free to use that
That's how we
material.
have all the FDA wins. That's how we have all the FDA wins. They just talk them to death.
Scott, I think you spoke more than I did. I deferred to our
When
leader
they asked me
and
about
our
things
boss.
like the trade show and some of that stuff, of course I'm gonna.
You got in a solid 4.5 minutes.
I did. It was 4.5 minutes of uninterrupted, and it was fantastic.
Glenn,
See,
I think
we're
we
just
should
looking
audit
at
our class
material.
where I talk an hour straight.
But in my defense, because I speak so damn fast, that 4 minutes is probably more like 30 minutes for most people. So I was able to squeeze every last bit out of that 4.5 minutes as I could.
So Kathleen, feel free to use all this material tonight.
Oh yes, I'm writing jokes in my head right now. Don't worry.
This has definitely been one of our more
Yeah, not
comical
thing,
shows because
yes.
we're at the rep.
Yes,
We're
yes.
already feeling it. So
Well, I don't have my glasses on. So I can't see
We're
it.
making advocacy fun.
Thank you, Art. And hello, Dr. Caffey. Your name did come up last night during the How About That Cigar, so go check out that podcast. We did talk about you, not in any kind of roasting way, but about the good partnership that we've got going on. And again, just to Kathleen's point, how it really all of us need to be. We're all in this together, and I think that's the one key message. No, all kidding aside, the one key message is this: that the more we've come together over the past few years, look at how much stronger we are and how much more formidable we have become to all of the opposition, right? We're turning the tables. We're using their playbook against them. We are being successful. Glenn in the States is kicking ass and taking names. At the federal level, we already know what our record looks like. So this is what happens when we come together. And we are more unified now than we have been since I've been in this role. And so we're on a very good path. So let's set us up. Let's get in this more now, and let's get in the trenches because we've got a lot of things to knock out with the states, but we know we can do it. It's in front of us. So come join us and let's get it done.
And if you're in the DC area or feel like traveling, October 18th, we are doing an advocacy fundraiser.
I will be there.
And
rooftop bar, tequila bar. We're going to have cigars and drinks, Maker's Mark doing special cups, auction items, fun.
If you're interested in the PCA and want to know more about what they do, get a little behind the scenes, right? You can come to the townhouse. You can come to the fundraiser.
Yeah.
I mean, come down to DC. You won't regret it.
It's a good week. We also do our policy summit during that time, so you can meet us. You can meet a lot of board members. And
you can really get involved. Really get involved. And you need to. You need to, right? And
if you are considering a run for the board, this is a good time to do it because March timeframe is when we're doing the trade show next year. That's when elections will be announced. So we're going to be opening up elections here in the next couple of months. So it's a good time to do it and come and meet with us as well. So, all right, everybody, you have a great rest of your afternoon. If you don't see Josh or me again after tonight, just know that we did not handle the roasting very well. Glenn, thank you so much, my friend. You and Nick have an enjoyable evening.
We'll see you
all the cuddles. Yes.
I love it.
Sounds good.
Talk
Thank you.
soon.
Bye, everybody.